You're doing great, healing, growing, maybe even smiling again. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, ping, a message lights up your screen. It's him, the guy who ghosted you, confused you, or left you wondering if you were ever enough. And just like that, your heart skips a beat, your breath catches, your brain starts spinning. What does he want? Why now? Should I respond? That one message, no matter how simple, can throw you completely off. Maybe it's a "Hey stranger," or "I was thinking about you," or even a casual "How have you been?" But let's be honest, it's never just a text, is it? It's a trigger. A wave of emotions hits you all at once: hope, curiosity, anxiety, nostalgia. Because even if you've moved forward, part of you still remembers how it felt when he was in your life, and that part wants answers, closure, or maybe even a second chance. But here's what I want you to remember. His message is not a reflection of your worth. It's a test of your growth. He might not be reaching out because he's changed or because he suddenly realized how amazing you are. Sometimes people come back simply because they feel your absence, not because they deserve your presence. Again, this message can make you feel like you're at a crossroads. Respond and possibly reopen a door you closed for a reason, or pause and protect the peace you worked so hard to rebuild. That's what this video is all about, helping you navigate that moment when your past knocks and you're not sure whether to answer or let it keep walking. Because girl, the way you handle that one message, that's where your power truly begins. Let's unpack one of the biggest relationship mysteries. Why does he always come back the moment you start moving on? It's like clockwork. You've cried, healed, journaled, blocked, unblocked, maybe even started seeing someone new, and boom, just when your energy is shifting back to yourself, he pops back into your life like nothing ever happened. So why now? Why not back when you were broken over him, begging the universe for a sign, replaying every message and wondering what you did wrong? The truth is, he didn't reach out back then because he didn't feel the loss yet. He didn't feel the silence in the way you did. He was still comfortable knowing you were emotionally available, energetically attached, and silently hoping he'd come back. But now the energy has shifted. He feels it. Maybe he doesn't even fully understand it. But energetically, something in him knows that your focus is no longer on him. Your absence is louder than your presence ever was. The attention he used to get from you, gone. The emotional access, cut off. And that is when curiosity kicks in. That's when ego speaks up. That's when he wonders, wait, has she really moved on? You see, men don't always come back out of love. They often come back out of loss, not necessarily the loss of you as a person, but the loss of the comfort you gave, the validation, the emotional safety, the attention he took for granted. And if you were someone who loved deeply, forgave easily, or held space for him even when he didn't deserve it, he misses that supply. He doesn't miss the responsibility of loving you properly, but he misses the way you made him feel. And if he's reaching out now, it might not be because he's had some grand epiphany. It might simply be because your silence forced him to notice the gap. The problem is, many women confuse his message with true regret or a desire to rebuild something real. But oftentimes it's not about you, it's about him, his boredom, his loneliness, his guilt, his ego needing reassurance. Maybe the girl he left you for didn't work out. Maybe he's in a low season. Maybe he's just used to having access to you and is testing to see if that door is still open. That's why timing matters. Not just when he comes back, but where you are emotionally when he does. If you're still in the stage of wanting answers or craving closure, his message can pull you right back into a cycle you were finally escaping. But if you've done the inner work, if you've recentered your focus on your peace and purpose, his return won't throw you off. It will confirm everything you already knew. So let's stop glorifying the return. Let's stop seeing his message as a sign of destiny or unfinished love. Sometimes it's just unfinished ego, unfinished control, unfinished comfort. And your job isn't to decode why he reached out. It's to decide whether it even matters anymore. Because the truth is, when a man really wants you, truly wants to rebuild, his actions won't be random, vague, or lazy. He won't send a "What's up?" at midnight. It'll come with clarity, with intention, with consistency. But if all you're getting is a confusing message out of nowhere, that's not love. That's a ping from the past, a ghost trying to see if you'll still entertain the old storyline. You're not that girl anymore. You've outgrown the games. You've elevated. You know better now. So the real question isn't, why is he reaching out now? It's, do I even care anymore? And if the answer is no, that's your power talking. Now let's talk about the part no one warns you about, the emotional setup. This isn't the kind of setup where someone's scheming behind your back. No, this is deeper, more subtle. This is the setup you walk into without even realizing it. It happens the moment he sends that message and your heart reacts before your brain catches up. Suddenly, your emotions start writing a story that your reality hasn't confirmed. That's where the setup begins. You think it's just a simple message, but emotionally, it reactivates something that was starting to heal, all the growth you were building, all the boundaries you were learning to set. It all feels a little shaky now, because your heart remembers the good moments, the butterflies, the late night talks. You remember how deeply you felt for him. And that memory becomes louder than the reasons you walked away. And that's exactly what makes this moment so dangerous. See, when he reaches out, it's rarely a fully conscious plan to manipulate, but it is often an emotional test, whether he means it or not. He's testing to see if the door is still cracked open. And what happens next? You start rationalizing. You say things like, maybe he's changed, or maybe he's finally realized my worth. You look for clues in every word, every emoji, every delay in his reply. Your emotional body is now leading the conversation, not your healed mind. This is the emotional setup. When your own hope makes you vulnerable to the same cycle that broke you. It's when your empathy says, give him another chance, while your intuition is whispering, be careful. It's when your past love hijacks your present logic, and before you know it, you're responding not because you trust him again, but because you miss the idea of who he was to you. You didn't see it coming because it didn't feel like a trap. It felt like closure. It felt like maybe this time could be different. It felt like your heart was finally being acknowledged. But don't forget, a message isn't effort. A hey isn't a plan. And feelings aren't facts. That message might feel like progress, but if it's not followed by changed behavior, all it's doing is reopening wounds dressed as reconnection. And here's the most overlooked part. Sometimes he doesn't even realize he's setting you up emotionally. He might just be looking for comfort, familiarity, a temporary distraction from his own loneliness. But that doesn't mean you have to be the one who carries that weight. His confusion is not your responsibility to heal. His regrets are not your job to absorb. If he couldn't value you before, you don't owe him another opportunity to try again on your dime. This setup works because it plays on your softness, your desire for love, your need to believe that people can change. And listen, people can change, but rarely in silence and never without accountability. So unless his message is backed by real change with real intention and real effort over time, it's not a second chance, it's a rerun. And you already know how that episode ends. What makes this moment powerful isn't how you respond to him, it's how you respond to yourself. Do you choose temporary comfort or long-term clarity? Do you fall into the fantasy or stay rooted in reality? Do you let the emotional setup work on you, or do you finally rise above it? Because here's the truth. You're not heartless for ignoring that message. You're not cold for protecting your peace. You're not rude for choosing you. You're just a woman who's learned that her heart is not a playground and that her healing is sacred. You know that feeling, that quiet little whisper in your chest, the one that says, something's off. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's persistent. It's that inner nudge when he texts you out of nowhere and part of you lights up, but another part says, be careful. That's your gut feeling, your intuition, and it exists for a reason. The biggest mistake so many women make is talking themselves out of what their body and spirit are already telling them. You overthink, rationalize, and convince yourself that maybe you're just being too sensitive, too guarded, too dramatic. But let me be real with you, your gut is not lying to you. That tension in your stomach, that slight hesitation, that inner conflict, it's all information. It's your soul recognizing patterns before your mind can even process them. You've felt this before. Maybe the last time he pulled away, or when you felt the energy shift but didn't want to believe it. Maybe when he said all the right words, but something in you didn't trust it. And guess what? That feeling was right, because more often than not, your body picks up on red flags faster than your mind is willing to accept them. So when he messages you and that gut feeling kicks in, pause. Don't ignore it. That discomfort isn't anxiety, it's wisdom. It's your inner self warning you not to go back into something that broke you. It's a call to slow down, to ask deeper questions, to check in with your truth rather than your hope. It's not negativity, it's protection. What's wild is that many women are conditioned to override their intuition. You were probably taught to be nice, to give the benefit of the doubt, to not jump to conclusions. So you second guess yourself. You think, well, maybe I'm just scared because of my past. But here's the thing, your past taught you how to recognize the signs. That's not trauma talking, that's experience, that's growth. That's your evolved self, trying to keep you from repeating lessons you've already paid for in tears and sleepless nights. Your intuition isn't paranoid, it's powerful. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. You start picking up on inconsistencies in tone, delays in response, lack of clarity in his intentions. You start noticing how his words make you feel rather than just how they sound. You stop chasing potential and start demanding presence. And that shift, that's when you start protecting yourself like never before. Because here's the truth, you don't owe anyone a reply just because they reached out, especially not someone who ignored you, confused you, or hurt you in the past. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself the respect of listening to the quiet voice inside that says he hasn't earned his way back in. That's not pettiness, that's power. If you ignore that gut feeling, you'll find yourself right back in the cycle, doubting, waiting, wondering. But if you honor it, you stay rooted in reality. You stay aligned with your worth. You send a message to yourself that says, I trust me now. And that kind of self-trust, that's what builds unshakable confidence. So the next time that feeling comes up, don't rush past it. Don't drown it out with what you want to believe. Sit with it, honor it. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Because when your soul speaks, it doesn't scream, it whispers, and only the strongest women have the courage to listen. When you trust your gut, you stop needing to be convinced. You already know, and when you know, you move different. Let's talk about one of the most common, most heartbreaking mistakes that 90% of women make when he reaches back out after disappearing, hurting them, or treating them like an option. It's the moment your heart overtakes your healing. It's the decision to respond too quickly, to believe too easily, and to welcome him back without proof of growth. And listen, this isn't said with judgment, it's said with love, because most of us have been there. This mistake is rooted in the beautiful parts of you, your loyalty, your hope, your desire to see the best in someone. But unfortunately, those beautiful parts can become your blind spots. The mistake is this, thinking that his message means more than it actually does. You see a hey or I miss you, and suddenly your heart opens the door that your boundaries were just starting to close. You think, maybe he finally realizes what he lost. You start filling in the blanks with emotion and fantasy, things he hasn't actually said or proven. And just like that, you're back in the emotional loop. Here's the harsh truth. Most men don't come back because they're ready to give you the love you deserve. They come back because they feel your absence. Because they miss the attention, the comfort, the emotional security you gave them without making them work for it. It's not always love. Sometimes it's loneliness. Sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's just curiosity. But here's what makes it dangerous. You want to believe, you want this to mean something, especially after all the pain. You think maybe this is the moment I get closure, or maybe this is when things finally change. So you open the door hoping for a new story, only to realize it's the same script, same patterns, same heartbreak, just delayed. And here's the part most women don't realize. The second you respond emotionally, without clarity, without boundaries, you reset the power dynamic in his favor. He knows he still has access. He knows he can show up, bare minimum, and still get your attention. That gives him control, not just over the conversation, but over your emotions. This mistake isn't just responding too soon. It's responding from a place of longing instead of alignment. It's trying to make an old connection fit your new standards, when really, if he hasn't grown, that connection doesn't belong in your healed world anymore. You're not weak for wanting him to change. You're human. You loved him. But love without accountability isn't love, it's attachment. And attachment will lie to you. It will say, go back, maybe this time will be different. But unless he's different and consistently showing it over time, it won't be. So how do you avoid this mistake? You pause. You don't react. You reflect. You give yourself time to feel, journal, pray, talk it through with someone you trust. You ask yourself, does this serve my growth, or does this feed my fantasy? You don't jump at breadcrumbs. You wait for a table to be set. And if it's not, you keep walking. Because you've come too far to go back to confusion. You've cried too many nights to settle for crumbs. And if you keep making the same choice that broke you, you're not healing. You're hoping. But hope without discernment is just a setup for more pain. So let this be your reminder. Don't let one message undo months of healing. Don't let one weak apology erase all the clarity you've gained. You don't owe anyone access to your heart just because they regret leaving. Let them feel the loss. Let them realize that when a woman heals, she becomes unavailable to anything that once drained her. You're not here to repeat chapters. You're here to write a better ending. When he sends that text, pops up in your DMs, or finds a random excuse to check in, it may look casual on the outside, but inside, there's an unspoken hope guiding his actions. And it's not always what you want to believe. See, when a man reaches out after disappearing, being distant, or treating you like an option, he's not always hoping for reconciliation. More often than not, he's hoping you'll do exactly what you used to do. Make it easy for him. He's hoping you'll pick up right where things left off, that you'll ignore how long it took for him to come back, that your emotions will override your boundaries. That the version of you who waited, who longed, who kept the door cracked open, still exists. He's not necessarily hoping to fix things. He's hoping to reset the comfort. He wants to know that he still has a place in your life without having to earn it, that he can drop breadcrumbs and you'll follow them like before, that your heart will do what it always did, show up, forgive, nurture, and accept without hesitation. What he's really hoping is that your self-respect hasn't caught up to your healing, that deep down you still crave the closure he never gave you, that you'll overthink every message, read between the lines, and slowly slide back into the cycle without him having to do much at all. Because if he wanted to truly fix it, you wouldn't be confused. You wouldn't be sitting there trying to decode a hey stranger at 10 p.m. You'd see effort. You'd see accountability. You'd hear words like, I know I messed up, and I'm willing to prove that I've changed. Not vague texts, not half efforts, not testing the waters. So what's he really hoping? He's hoping you won't notice the pattern, that you'll forget how hard it was to pull yourself out of the pain, that you'll mistake his reappearance for transformation, that you'll still have the same emotional attachment ready to pick up where he left off. And if you do, he doesn't have to change. He doesn't have to grow. He gets access to you, the healed, elevated, softer, wiser you, without doing the work to deserve her. That's why it's so important to pause before reacting, before replying, before letting your heart get ahead of your head. Because just like you've evolved, so should your response. He may be hoping you'll fall back into old habits, but this time you won't, because now you see it, you feel it, and most importantly, you know what it costs to go back. It's not about being bitter or holding a grudge. It's about protecting your peace. It's about honoring the version of you who had to rebuild herself brick by brick after he left. It's about refusing to accept recycled effort when you now know the value of intentional love. Let him hope. Let him wonder. Let him sit in the silence of your boundaries. Because the real power isn't in the message you send. It's in the one you don't. You've outgrown the version of you who made it easy. Now, you're the version who makes it earned. There's something incredibly powerful about a pause. In a world that conditions us to react instantly, to reply quickly, to fix things fast, to say something just to fill the silence, choosing to pause feels like rebellion. But when it comes to love, especially after being hurt, ghosted, or strung along, that pause isn't just powerful, it's transformational. When he reaches out after disappearing or treating you like a placeholder, everything in you might want to respond immediately. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired to seek resolution. Your heart wants answers. Your mind wants to believe it's finally your moment. But here's the truth. The person who pauses holds the power. That space between his message and your response, that's where your healing lives. That's where clarity forms. That's where your worth gets recentered. The pause doesn't mean you're ignoring him to play games. It means you're protecting your peace. It means you're checking in with you before giving access to him. It's asking yourself, is this message about real connection or is it about control? Is this apology attached to accountability or just convenience? When you pause, you shift the energy. You take yourself out of the emotional reaction and place yourself in grounded reflection. And here's what happens when you don't pause. You risk slipping into the cycle, the same one that had you over-explaining, over-giving, over-justifying. You fall back into the emotional quicksand because you didn't give yourself time to see the full picture. But when you pause, even for a few hours or a few days, you get to ask the hard questions. Why now? What's changed? Am I responding from a healed place or from a place that still wants closure? Pausing gives you a front row seat to your emotional growth. You realize you don't have to react. You don't have to explain your silence. You don't owe him immediate access just because he showed up again. That pause becomes a mirror showing you how far you've come. From reactive to reflective, from desperate for validation to rooted in self-worth. And here's what he won't expect. The version of you that doesn't jump to respond. The one who no longer reacts to breadcrumbs. The one who calmly evaluates instead of emotionally attaches. That silence, it speaks volumes. It tells him you're no longer on standby, no longer available for temporary affection or half-hearted effort. It tells him you've evolved. The pause also protects your future, because when you don't rush, you allow truth to reveal itself. People who are serious will stay consistent, even if you don't reply right away. But the ones who disappear again after your silence, they weren't here for you. They were here for the access. And by pausing, you gave them just enough space to expose their real intentions. So don't fear the pause. Don't feel the silence. Don't convince yourself you're being cold or distant. You're simply choosing you, your peace, your standards, your timeline. You're doing what too many women forget to do, creating space for your emotions to settle before you let anyone back in. In that pause, there's power. Power to choose differently. Power to reclaim your energy. Power to respond from a healed place rather than a hurting one. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to forget, because you no longer act out of impulse, but out of intention. Let your pause be the proof of your growth. Let it be the space where your self-respect breathes. Let it be the moment you remind yourself that not everyone who returns deserves a reply. Some just deserve silence. When you've done the inner work, when you've healed, grown, and leveled up emotionally, your responses start to change. You don't just reply to messages anymore, you respond like a queen. And no, that doesn't mean being cold, harsh, or dismissive. It means moving with grace, clarity, and standards that no longer bend for temporary people. A queen doesn't panic when someone who once ignored her decides to reappear. She doesn't get flustered when a man suddenly realizes her value after he's already lost access to her. She doesn't react emotionally. She pauses, observes, and then responds in alignment with her self-worth. So what does responding like a queen actually look like? First, it means you never let the message control the mood. Whether it's a casual hey or a heartfelt I miss you, you take a moment to remember who you are. You remind yourself of the tears you cried, the sleepless nights, and the strength it took to rebuild. You check in with your growth. Then, if you decide to respond, it's from that solid place, not from a wounded one looking for validation. A queen speaks with intention. She doesn't overshare, over-explain, or over-accommodate. If he's vague, she doesn't play guessing games. She's clear. She may say, thanks for reaching out, but I've moved on, or I'm not interested in going backward. And if she does decide to explore a conversation, it's because she sees consistent effort, not just random words. She's not rude, but she's not easy either. She listens more than she speaks. She observes the consistency of his actions, not just the charm of his words. She doesn't reward low effort. She doesn't chase clarity. She expects it. And if it's not there, she's perfectly okay walking away in silence. The queen version of you no longer reacts to old patterns with old behaviors. She doesn't return to cycles she prayed her way out of. She's not interested in being a convenience, a second option, or someone's what if. She's not angry. She's just unavailable for anything that doesn't honor her. Responding like a queen also means knowing that you don't owe everyone an explanation. Sometimes your silence is your boundary. Sometimes your calm is your closure. You're not here to teach a man how to treat you anymore. You've already graduated from that lesson. Now, he either knows or he learns by losing access to you. This version of you responds to energy, not words. She picks up on emotional intelligence. She listens for accountability, not empty promises. She no longer romanticizes potential. She watches for pattern. And if the pattern doesn't change, she doesn't stay. And here's the most powerful part. A queen doesn't respond to prove anything. Not to him, not to anyone else. Her response is for her, to affirm her growth, to maintain her peace, to show herself that she is no longer that girl who needed closure, who begged for clarity, who waited for someone else to see her worth. You've evolved. You've earned the crown through every heartbreak you turned into wisdom. Now, your energy is too expensive for inconsistency. Your time is too valuable for confusion. Your heart is too sacred to entertain anyone who left it unattended. So when he reaches out and you're tempted to shrink back into old habits, stop, straighten your crown, breathe, respond like the woman who knows exactly who she is and what she deserves. Because that energy, that's royalty. And once you step into it, you never settle for anything less again. So here's what I want you to walk away with. This moment right now is where you get to make a different choice. Not just about him, but about you. You've spent enough time overthinking texts, waiting for him to grow, hoping he would see your worth without you having to beg for it. But queens don't beg. They don't chase. They don't settle for crumbs when they know they were born to feast. You win not by getting him back, but by getting yourself back. When you choose to pause, when you choose not to respond from a place of desperation, when you choose your peace over his presence, that's how you win. That's when everything shifts. You are no longer the woman hoping he changes. You're the woman who's already changed, and that is your power. If he reaches out again, remember, your silence, your boundary, your non-reaction, that's louder than any comeback text. Let him feel what it's like to lose access to the best thing he never fully appreciated. Let your growth be his lesson. But more importantly, let your growth be your celebration. And if this message hit your soul, if you felt seen, understood, empowered, then sis, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure you like this video, subscribe for more real talk, and drop a comment below, sharing the moment that opened your eyes the most. Your story might just be the spark another woman needs. You've come too far to play small. You're not here to be an option. You're here to be the standard. And I'm proud of you for showing up for yourself. Now go walk like the queen you are, and never forget, your energy is a privilege. Not everyone deserves access to it.